Okay. The time is now 6:30. I'll call this meeting to order. Thank you. Okay, now so let's stand for the pledge of allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Walsh,
Lisa Madden,
Karen Vincent.
Virginia Allen let me know that she would not be able to make it tonight, and would like to give voting rights to Kevin Colbert. Okay. So we had two things that we were looking to adjust on the agenda tonight. First would be looking for a motion to amend line 7 to the amount of $95,723.23. This would be for the suspense total. This was the second amount that.
I'm sorry,
Karen,
can you give that amount again?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, $95,723.23.
And this was for the suspension.
This is for the suspense list, yeah.
I'll make a motion to add that, make that change to that line item.
I'll second it.
That portion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Okay. The next one would be looking for a motion to add the fiscal year-end line item transfers to the agenda. We were going to have it with the financial reports because it's included, but I really wanted to break it up and have it be a separate line than with the regular update.
So we want to have it too.
Let's do it right before a 5A and a 5B. Yeah, yeah. So it could be 5B. They go together. The transfers might come first. Okay, so 5A instead. Yeah. Okay. We'll be looking for a motion to add fiscal year and line item transfers to the agenda 5A.
That's too long to make that
Yeah, what you said.
Whatever she said.
I can repeat it if anyone needs it just before we. Is there a second for that?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor? Were you in the
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry, I just didn't catch it. Okay, motion carries. Okay. So next on the agenda is 3 for review and accept the minutes from May 20th, 2026 meeting. If anyone had any edits, feel free to speak up. If you're comfortable with it, just look outside. That's it. I don't want to rush anything.
I'll move to accept them.
Okay. All in favor, raise your hand.
abstain.
Abstentions? Okay. Okay. Motion carries. Okay. So next would be citizens participation. Anyone would like to speak? Okay. Next would be 5A, and that would be to go over the line item transfers.
Hey everybody. So included in your stuff was a packet that was presented to the Board of Selectmen on June 3rd. It has the cover sheet as well as the normal forecast that you guys would get on, or have been getting on a monthly basis, in addition to breakdown of just the transfers and the journal entry. In essence, it's line items that move that you guys have mostly been aware of throughout the year, because we do monthly forecasts now, which is always a great thing. None of this should really be a surprise. The great news is that we're going to be coming in $750,000 under our overall budget, and an additional $1.25 million in revenue. So there's $2 million going back to the general fund this year. I think it's fantastic. I've worked with other towns where they're normally like, we have in our budget, let me give you a PO because we want to spend it. The mentality here is if they don't need it, they're not spending it. So that's great. I'm not getting purchase orders for stamps going, no, it's $200, we're going to put it back in the general fund. So feel free to go through any of the line items. Most of you guys will already have known, the overtime, the snow caused a lot of it. And so if there's anything in particular, but this is the line item transfers with the budget. And it just, as I said, expect to be coming in, giving back over $750,000 in expenses alone. This is also approved at the Board of Selectmen meeting on June 3rd. It's a good problem to have, guys. Yeah. It's very different than most towns.
Can you remind me on the affordable housing one? That was $15,000, just as we didn't.
Yeah, we didn't use it at all. That was when there was a potential bill happening in the state, if they were going to have to spend money on plans.
Yep.
We didn't have to do that.
How come we have extra money in the pool operations that you couldn't be able to take from?
She hasn't spent it, and she doesn't expect to because it was closed for a lot this year.
Okay, so it's the staffing,
Yeah, so.
not staffing.
Which, by the way, she's now open, I believe, 6 days a week currently. We've been hiring a lot of lifeguards. So she's been making that a priority for us.
Is there a new pool coordinator? What's the deal with the
I
pool
think
coordinator?
they made an offer to someone who's accepted. I don't believe they've started yet. I haven't seen the new hire packet come through yet. I haven't put it through payroll yet, so let's put it that
So
way.
is our old pool coordinator gone?
I believe so, yes.
Random question. Do you know where she found lifeguards? I know she was really struggling with that.
Everywhere and anywhere. I don't know if
Yeah.
she's doing something. I know we posted it everywhere. We increased pay. I mean, it's doing good. It's a normal turnover.
Interesting. It's hard for everyone trying to find lifeguards.
Especially with great work for all there.
Yeah,
What is
so
the-
close now.
What is the Economic Development Department had 2,000 union negotiated increase for the 1,100? What is that?
That was the one we talked about at the budget workshop. She agrees mid-year through the negotiations with the union.
And she was the only one?
Yes.
How'd that happen?
That was right at the beginning of my time. It was any negotiation. When you want to keep a good employee, that is very possible. You turn around and get staff from other towns, and if you want to.
So she got that, so that was that on top of what she got within the budget too, am I understanding that?
She got a mid-year raise, yes.
Right,
Yes.
and she was the only one this past year that got that.
The building inspector got one, if he didn't get a raise, he was hired after the budget was passed at a higher rate, so that's different. So he didn't get a raise after starting, he was hired at a higher than a budget rate. But she was the only mid-year one.
And who was that, I'm sorry?
That would be Shannon,
No, the other one you were just talking about.
that would be Rob, our building inspector.
Right.
Sometimes when people leave or threaten to leave or want to leave, that's what you do, keep them.
That was done through union negotiation, correct?
Yes,
Yeah, that's
Because
what
you
it
can't just give a raise if it's not negotiated on by union,
that was done with the union.
especially if it's a union person.
That's why Brian actually spoke up at the podium at our budget meeting, because he's the vice chair of that meeting, and he was part of that negotiation.
I make a motion to accept as presented.
I'm comfortable with that one. I'm still. You looking for a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, raise your hand. Okay, motion carries.
I'll make that change so you will see it on your final year-end numbers.
Next year, we'll be a little bit closer hopefully, and not be almost $1 million in transfers, or $3 million.
Yeah, well, I mean, 200,000 of it was, I mean, we came so far down.
It does, it's still, you know, you're saying 200,000 of what, the transfer station?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was technically the taxpayer.
Shouldn't have been on there.
It should have been there.
Yeah.
It should.
But it
should
was,
have been
so.
considered.
Yep. But that's the whole idea, to get it down. So we do the monthly forecast, so nothing is going to be like a surprise anyway prior to. That's why
I just want to get our budgeting a little closer, that's all. I want to try to be, you know,
respect and understand.
I mean, I understand emergencies happen.
Yeah, a lot of it was snow.
Yeah.
The next would be to discuss and act upon the financial reports presented by the Board of Selectmen, including the April and May reporting.
I just took May because it rolls right into each other, guys. I mean, if you have questions on May, I'm sure I can answer it. So instead of giving you a whole new financial, when I did the Board of Selectmen one, it was, I had to present it by June 3rd. And they had to have the material prior to kind of what you guys do. So this was as of like May 26th. So you'll see there's a column, May 26th, May remaining forecast, and then June forecast, just to make it easier so the spread numbers all in line. But once again, we're expected $752,000 in savings and expenditures, and revenues to exceed by almost 1.3 million. Interest, building permits actually, even in the month of June, we just got $100,000 last week in building permits. And then on top of it, Uline is expecting to do a temporary CO next week, or at least by the end of the month. So building permits is going to continue to increase this year, not next year. So that's a nice surprise that we didn't expect. The pool has been open. Interest revenue still doing fantastic. Town clerk fees. We talked about the tax revenue current year is low, but back year is fantastic. Still coming in at 800,000 over budget, and we're not even including June yet. So collections have been fantastic. Thank you, Karen. Supplement state revenue. You know, we're not using any of the fund balance. Animal control, that might be a discussion with the department out on FMLA. The other staff members increase their hours. You guys have saw that in the transfers. And, you know, we have to monitor that, waiting for Karen to come back on what we're going to do, because the assistant also just gave her notice. So animals, yeah.
I thought we were going to go into cahoots with Newcom.
I don't think we're going to, I don't know, I can't confirm that.
So as long as that discussion I had.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't
I
think,
think it was at the selectmen's meeting, I don't.
and I don't think,
No,
and
we talked about it.
I don't think it would be ECOG, I think there's other alternatives he's looking at, if anything is possible, but I don't want to speak out of turn because I'm not part of those discussions.
It's because our facility isn't.
Yeah, facility, exactly. So, we'll have to wait, but I did want that to be mentioned, you know, animal control, we're always going to be looking at that. What else do we got going on? Finance, we made an offer to assistant finance director today, so hopefully they will accept. They have experience in another town, so that's good news. We did interview 5 people over the last week, so.
And will they be coming in, what, we were gonna give to Doty?
Yes, yeah, what was within budget, yes. Supplies, recreation, health insurance coming a little lower because of balance on the future. So if there's anything that stands out, I'm trying to just highlight what was different. Dow Road Bridge, there's no numbers as of yet. I did include a memo from Kevin. It will be a full year before Dow Road is actually complete between the engineering, construction, and what they have to do because of deep and having to do with the trout. So I did have Ken did provide a statement, but I didn't want to say, hey, we probably will need funding for that at some point. But I have no numbers yet. It's way too preliminary.
So we would about 6 months to a year before they can start to get off construction?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Is there an option for a temporary bridge?
Not right now because of the trout.
No, a temporary bridge is ground bearing, it doesn't affect the waterway. They go right over the top of what's there.
I haven't heard, I'm sure the
The
engineers
government,
would be
the government
discussing
builds them, the military uses them, usually in surplus.
I think the Army Corps of Engineers would put that in,
No, and you can, the town can buy
town
it.
can buy it.
Yeah, you buy a surplus one from the government. Shut it down.
I'll ask our engineer and tell him about it on Monday.
Pretty sure that's what Sandy Petrowski used when he did the gravel operation. He had one of those.
In which operation?
He had a gravel operation over by, Millbrook,
Okay.
across some wetlands, that's what he used.
All right, awesome, thank you. I'm sure it's on
Because that
there.
does delay, emergency services up that hill. By law.
Yeah. But as far as the month-to-date financials, there's nothing really else to impact that. We're in great shape. We're very lucky.
So I want to get back to the Dow Bridge thing real quick. So we've known for many years about this bridge, and no money was ever set aside for that.
There's 350,000 set aside in appropriated
All
funds.
right, that's what I wanted to know.
We had a vote for it of the taxpayers, we approved
I
the
remember,
money.
I found when it was a public hearing, it was slated to be done in 2024. I don't know what happened.
It never got done.
No.
Yeah, I think the engineers fell through on that, and that's part of Kevin's note, but there's 350,000 in appropriated funds for Dow Road Bridge, and you can see it in the audited financial statements as well.
Yeah, 'cause I'm pretty sure it shows up in our budget too, our financial,
I'm sure.
Uh,
Yeah, through it.
when we look at our budgets every year as a project. I thought it was 250, maybe it was
It's
350.
350.
And we haven't even had an anticipated cost on anything yet. I'm not, that's all the questions I have.
We have a motion to approve.
Are there any, do you have any other concerns?
Not for this
Nothing.
year, no. Nothing, the line item transfers covered it. I mean, we had 4 people with over 20 years experience leave this year. That's a lot fast, but no. Thank you for asking.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve, to accept the town financials.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, raise your hand. Okay, motion passes. Next would be to discuss and act upon the financial statements as presented by the Board of Education. I know Mr. President, you know that he's unable to attend tonight. He's attending our 8th grade promotion. You have the report that was sent to you, and if there's any questions for Mr. Brenton, I can bring them back to him. But a couple of new things that we wanted to bring to department and board finance attention. Substitute costs, I did bring that up in our last meeting. We continue monitoring that account. Again, vacant positions, people on leave without pay. The funds for those salaries will be used to cover the substitute salaries. Unemployment we discussed at the last meeting. One of the new account codes that is over budget is our purchase professional services. Towards the end of the year, a lot of our subscription costs comes in. We pay either in the springtime or the fall time. So the springtime is when a couple of our renewals came through, which did put that account over budget by $33,633.70. I did list all the things that are coded to that account code so you are aware. Most of those funds that puts that account over is the legal auditing and accounting services that we did have to hire at the beginning of this fiscal year. So it was from the fall time, but you're just noticing it now because of the renewals. Another one that we talked about is the purchase pupil services. That's from our contracted speech and language contracted services. I am happy to report that we did just hire a speech and language pathologist. So we had 2 vacant positions and we were able to hire 1, so that will reduce our contracted costs for next year because we will have an additional employee in-house. So that was great news. And that actually did come from the job fair, which was excellent.
Fantastic.
So yeah, we had a really good turnout for the job fair and that worked out really well in our favor. Utilities and heat and energy, we did discuss at the last meeting, but we do have an estimated cost of that being over budget by just over $30,000. The usage and the cost is just higher expected year to date. We are going to be using the funds from our vacant salary positions to cover all of these overages. Maintenance repair, we do look at our maintenance and repair lines as a group. For the school, we have 3 object codes that have to deal with our maintenance and repair lines. It's 430, 431, and 432. It really is broken down from a state level because we have to report to the state, but it's for building repair, equipment repair, and ground repair. So when we look at them as a whole, it is still currently under budget, but you will notice in that object summary report that 2 of the accounts are over. Again, we kind of look at it all together, but we do need to code the expenses to the appropriate account for state reporting. And then lastly, our tuition. Last month I reported that we did get the final numbers from our cross grant reimbursement. So last month it was just under $100,000, and I mentioned we got $54,000 less from that grant. So we are currently over budget by $148,437. That account will be covered using the full special education account code or the location to cover the overage in tuition. Our 2% set-aside account, I reported the new balance after the transfer happened for our unexpended funds from our fiscal year 25 audit. Some great new things for our grants that I wanted to let everyone know about. For our school readiness grant, the state did have a contract amendment, and we did receive an additional 8% on our school readiness grant. That grant specifically covers our preschool program. So they did do the contract amendment for this year and for next year. So we're getting about just over $30,000 this year and next year. Unfortunately, they decided to tell us about this June 1st, so we have to spend funds by June 30th. So we're looking to do some safety upgrades in our preschool program. We're adding additional fob entrances to the classrooms for easier access and making sure that the doors are staying secure and locked. And also, through another grant, we were able to get a greenhouse for our Shepherd Hill preschool program. So we're looking to do some site work and get some water and electricity out there. So great things happening for preschool. And then 2 other grants that we continuously get, but I just did not have on my monthly grant report. So I just wanted to let the board know. We do get a grant for our teen mentor stipends, which pays our teachers for their teen mentoring. And then our Title III grant, which is our English language learners grant, and we use those funds to support those learners.
In the report, you have your ECHIP report for the month of April, so that is reconciled to bank reports. And then we did get our May report after my Board of Education meeting, so it's not in this packet. But I'm happy to report that we still have a surplus over the 16.5% target that we are trying to hit on June 30th. So we have been in constant communication. We are holding our June contribution to insurance until we get the June banking report. So that way we can make sure wherever June lands, we make sure that we are not contributing for the 16.5%. So if we do need to make a payment, we are holding funds available to do that. But our hope is that we have a surplus, and depending where that report comes in, we might have those funds available at the end of the year. And then lastly is our school lunch account. Our negative food service account balance is $33,000, and we will be looking to do a line item transfer at our next board meeting to cover those funds. We don't make that line item transfer until after closer to the last day in June, because parents still are able to make payments. So we do one more notice to families after the last day of school to let parents know what their negative account balances are. We try to recruit some of that money, and then we will do a line item transfer at the end of June to cover those funds. And then facilities, there's a couple things facilities that we were able to get purchase orders for. At Shepherd Hill Elementary School, we're doing the exterior door. That's being replaced for safety. Moosehead Elementary School had a new amplifier for the intercom system that was replaced. Memorial School is getting some broken windows replaced. We did have some meetings with our administration to try to be strategic in utilizing our end-of-year funds for capital improvement and maintenance projects that really need to be completed. That's why I tried to change this report a little bit to let everyone know some of those capital items that will be coming down the pike. We're trying to use our funds to be able to complete them, and then if we need to complete them further, then we can use our 2% cap. And I think that's it. No questions, would you look for a motion?
I make a motion we approve the board ed report.
Do we have a second?
A second.
Okay. All in favor, raise your hand. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Good night. Okay, next would be to discuss and act upon the tax collector's request for approval of tax suspense list totaling $95,723 and 23 cents.
So on June 4th, I emailed you a list, and I did amend it. I believe I emailed it out on the 11th. So did you all get the emails? So yeah, so I'm looking for approval of the $95,723.23. And this is transfers of delinquent accounts that are active in the financial assets. Correct? Am I correct saying that? Yeah.
It makes it the allowance of doubtful accounts.
Right. But they are still collectible. I can still collect them. And these are people that are bankrupt, tax sales, unable to locate, deceased, moved out of town, businesses out.
It's required by the state that at least once a year, the tax collector come before the board and ask for the presentation to take from the active account to suspense account. And if she can still collect on it, just moves it to make it the allowance for doubtful accounts on the balance sheet.
So what are we approving, the suspense amount to, it's just more like
The whole list
Thank you.
for $95,723.
Right.
Would you like to make a motion?
No.
I'll make a motion to
$95,703.
The tax collector's request for the suspension of the list totaling $95,723.23.
Do we have a second?
Second. I can handle that. That's good.
Okay, all in favor, raise your hand. Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Okay, so next would be the discussion and potential action regarding the various funds.
Go down this list again. So after our last meeting, we spoke with the auditors as well as we spoke with our town council. Because there was no action taken or vote by the legislative body, these are simply funds that exist in the general fund that the Board of Selectmen can create funds, Board of Finance can move the money. You guys have never gotten fund reports. You've only gotten revenue and expense statements of the general fund. I'd like to change that. I want you guys to have copies of everything. I mean, these reports take me 5 hours to do on a Friday, but I want more. I want to have the all-inclusiveness. I want you guys to all know where everything is, because I think it's just the right way to do things. But in order to do that, I need to clean up these funds. And so Naomi brought up a great question, can we do this? So at least we did the due diligence to ask these questions, and we can. But I mean, so these are the recommendations. So for June, I like to take these accounts and move them back to the general fund. These are accounts that haven't been touched in years. So I did send you at the beginning of the month an Excel sheet of every single bank account. I put the copies of the bank statements, the last time they were used. You know, these accounts are sitting in our audited financial statements and are showing interest only. And if you guys don't get reports on it, how do you even know they exist? And so that's where I'd like to bring it all together for more transparency.
So now these funds were created by the Board of Selectmen? And
I don't think they all were done by the board.
But they were supposed to, is that what you said?
Yes.
They were supposed to have been created by the Board of Selectmen. So has the Board of Selectmen voted to send them to us to do away with that?
Well, we don't know for a fact if they were or were not. There's no record of that because it's the history.
I mean,
That's the town clerk.
This has been going on for quite some time. The Board of Selectmen have been going back and forth, and they still haven't voted, as far as I know, to do anything with them yet.
They voted actually to do the town road aid. That was voted on the name.
What was it?
Town road aid that was created in that at their name.
So that was the one that they
Here's
voted on.
the issue I have, okay? So, and Lisa can help guide me with this one. So there's a construction fund, am I
Yeah, that is
on
correct.
That was
With
listed,
3 bank
that
accounts.
was listed in the audit report, but supposedly this is our CNR. I don't know how that works. There's nothing with the town clerk showing where the Board of Finance, the Board of Selectmen, and the legislative body ever voted on any of this stuff. So we don't know how they originated. One of them has $500,000 sitting in it, and we're being asked to move that. Or would I be correct in that movement?
Move it back to the general fund because the
I
auditor
don't even know if
said,
that's legal for us to do that. I don't know.
according to the town attorney and the auditors, it is. Because there was no vote taken by the
Did
legislative
Attorney
body,
Cody put that in writing for us?
we put it on the phone. It actually could be in writing, yes.
I would like him to I would like a legal letter from him putting that in writing. I am not comfortable moving $500,000 without a letter that the Board of Finance can show for record-keeping purposes to the town of Plainfield that we did that without any body of the legislative voting on that. I'm sorry, Lisa, this is nothing. That's $500,000 we're being asked to move, and I understand it's back to our general fund.
Yes.
But my understanding of state statute on municipal funding of 108 is that there should have been the presence of the legislative body involved in all of this.
And there wasn't.
Straight handbook, I looked at the Gasky,
Mhm.
I understand everything you wrote in the emails. I'm just not comfortable with the fact we don't know how these were created. We don't know if the legislative body was completely dismissed out of this, so their power was usurped in it. I'm not comfortable with it. I don't know where that money came from. I don't know how it was started. The only one I am absolutely comfortable with is open space, because I know how that was created. And I knew it existed. I didn't even know any of these other ones existed, and I've been attending town meetings since 2014, 2015, and I never heard any discussions on some of this, so I'm just not comfortable with it.
Oh, and that's fine. It's easier to do nothing. It's always easier to do nothing. And I don't want to keep doing nothing.
What, I don't want to do nothing either, I want to do something with it, but I want to
Make
do
sure
it
we're all
properly.
covered. And I
That's all.
understand
I want to
that.
do it properly.
I want us protected, I'm sorry, I just,
And I've been watching the selectmen's meetings, I haven't been making everyone, but I've been watching them, and I've been listening to the selectmen asking for a legal opinion, and I have not heard from them that they've actually received anything in writing yet.
For this,
Yes.
I received an email and then we had a phone conversation. But I'll follow up. What I'll do is this suggestion, because I did give her a rundown list for
Yeah.
June and July.
everything that you're asking for, if you could have Attorney Cody put down his legal, and what he recommends to this board, and what we're supposed to do following statute in our charter, I have no problem voting once he does that.
Okay,
But unless I see that, I am just not comfortable with it.
that's fine.
And
But you guys
I'd love to take care of it in
understand
July.
totally.
I'd love to take care of it sooner than later.
But you guys,
I do understand it,
But-
and I'm not opposed to having the accounting and having more transparency. I think you're spot on with that. I'm not fighting you on that. I don't want to come back 90 days, a year later, and have an issue where it's like, well, the Board of Finance didn't have the authority to do that. Or we had an issue with
you do with 11,
But-
you
but-
probably know off the top of your head. What is it,
11-4.
11-2
It's
or
11-2 through 11-4, but the
where
problem,
you can create it and you can make funds.
we can, but the problem is that there's a conflict with our charter with statute with that. And I'm still researching, I'm still digging, and
Okay, but I did speak with Attorney Cody, we did have emails.
I'm just not
that's what we
understanding,
need to do.
and I'm not understanding why transparency, and this has nothing to do with you. This is your predecessor, it took place prior to you being here. So I would like that on the record. This is not about what was done since Lisa's been here. What I don't understand is why a construction fund would be listed like that in an audit report when it was supposed to be a CNR. So that I'm confused by why finance did that.
It's still a construction fund, and there was one meeting, I put the minutes in from 2015, where the Board of Finance appropriated $300,000 to the construction fund. That was the one thing that Diane and I found, so I did include that. There also was a special town meeting in 2024 to approve the town for that 660, and they wanted to earmark it for Lions Park upgrades, and that got turned down. So this is the only 2 times that things were mentioned that we could find in the town clerk's records. So, but to bring your point a step further, there's never been policies.
No.
And so, in
And that here's my
conjunction
other
with
issue, right?
this,
So if we're going by, you normally would have the Board of Selectmen would request this.
Yes.
The Board of Finance would then create.
Budget.
They would put the fund, then it would go to the legislative body for them to enact the vote.
Exactly.
Go back to the Board of Selectmen for a policy. We don't have that chain of command. And I'm sorry, a lot of this falls on, there just has not been proper due diligence and understanding by our board members for failure of education on a lot of the way the procedural process is done. And that could create potential legalities for people and boards and commissions, and I'm just not comfortable, 5,000 is one thing, $500,000, $1 million, I'm not comfortable with that.
yeah, that was the sale of the town, I don't even know, medical building, I don't even really know. It was in 2008 was the sale of the building, 2008. So, but all these funds are just sitting there and.
Wasn't that restricted to be used for a certain purpose? I can't remember off the top of my head. I thought that had to be used for something in particular. The sale of that building.
The medical building and the.
See, and that's another problem, if there was a restriction with that money, we don't have that on the record, we
There's
don't
nothing
know
in the
that.
records.
Well, if there's nothing in the records, then there will not be restriction, but.
Right, because there was no vote of the legislative body, so
Well, that
all
was-
was emotional.
Well, no, that was, we sold the building. If you sell property, doesn't it?
That's supposed to be voted on by the town.
Right, but I thought also,
That was 2008, so I don't know.
No.
But there was
Yeah,
no
that was
records in the
before
town.
mine.
I'm thinking something else, because I was thinking that some of that has to go to open space for open space usage when we saw.
There was an open space earmark, and that had 300 and something thousand in it, I knew that.
Yeah,
That's
that's
been utilized and then refurbished, so. But that was the only set aside I was ever aware of. I wasn't aware of all these other ones existing until recently, so.
Well, the open spaces, I believe that gets added to when you have a development, I mean, they don't wanna, if you pay in lieu of open spaces, that money's supposed to go into that account.
Well, like Lisa was explaining in the email, and I don't disagree with it. So, the way that the Gatsby, and correct me if I'm wrong in this, they do allow the financial department to like create set-asides.
Yes.
Right? So that way we can title money, so it's for specific purposes, restricted, right? And for those purposes only, but it's the way they have to be set up and done. And then there should be a recording of it, and it should be transparent. Unfortunately, that's not what we had happening. So now we have many accounts. Coming in, going, what is all this? So,
And, do the history and let's clean it up. So the accountants and the attorney agreed, especially since there's no vote by the legislative body, that they are all just divisions made within, but all part of the general fund.
The problem is next year they could find something in the file somewhere, oh, there was a vote, here it is. Because we've had this happen before with a charter, a revised charter magically appeared. It was stuck in a drawer somewhere. I mean, stuff like this happens in this town.
that's why I would like a legal letter, so that we can have it.
Whether you
On
keep
record,
it this way,
legal advisement.
it's still collecting
I
money.
don't want
That's
to keep
the
it
good
this way.
part.
I want to correct it, but I want to make sure we correct it properly.
That's all I'm asking
And
for.
if a legal opinion should be,
It should be added, it's fairly simple.
it should be added to the documentation to go along with it, so that
Okay.
when we do what we're gonna do, that legal opinion is with that, so we can say, hey, listen, our lawyer said to do this, and this is the document he gave us saying to do this. Not, it was a phone call.
Right.
So the more
And the same
specific, the
thing
better,
is
because
CVIS too, right? So if you spoke to
I did,
whoever.
I had that
So
in
the
writing.
pilot, okay, could we have that?
Yeah, I had that in writing.
Okay.
Just so we can have paperwork to,
Right, we want a public record so that
Right,
we're
it's
protected.
something we have, that we were given,
not only us,
To make
it's
sure
for
this-
residents, it's gonna be in the town clerk's
Actually,
office.
how about this idea, since we don't find anything in the public records, if I bring to the Board of Selectmen, asking them to create these funds, all of them, just to CYA, just to create them to have it, because we are unsure if it was ever created in public record to begin with. Have them do a list of creating, even though they already exist,
Yeah,
but just to
exact
have the
ones that we have.
documentation of it, would that be a good suggestion as well?
I don't know, because it still seems a little bit,
I mean, it's backwards.
it's
Yeah.
backwards. It's-
I would like to see if Attorney Cody recommends. it.
Yeah, let's just let
Yeah.
him, let's
Okay.
see
Let's
what
go
he
let
says.
us see
And
if
get
he
it,
recommends
get
for
it
us.
written,
Yep.
get it written so we can have it with the
Legal,
paperwork.
whatever he tells us is, that's
If
what
it's
we're,
okay?
yeah, if he says it's okay, because then if
Sorry,
my language, the shit hits the fan down the road, it's gonna be on Attorney Cody.
All right, and none of this has to get done right away anyway. This is just me trying to clean up the books before the new water.
And again, we want to
Yeah,
have
we
the books
want-
also.
Yeah,
So,
listen, all we're asking for, transparency,
yeah,
procedural process, and making sure our legal ones are covered, that's it, those three things, we're good.
I think
Oh,
we have
yeah.
another understanding.
Yeah,
Thank you for all the work that you put into this already and making sure this is cleaned up and being transparent with us.
so that's gonna get to
it's
I'll
been
make
a lot of work.
Oh, we don't even have to table it because it was only the potential to do action
Okay.
tonight.
Oh, okay.
So we just have to choose to just not do any action.
So should we make a motion that the Board of Finance is requesting a letter from our account attorney advising us on what direction? I think I would.
I feel like that idea.
So one of the things I'm going to recommend, I know going forward for me, is any documentation, I would like it to be in a formal motion on the record that the Board of Finance has requested it, because we're requesting things and we're not getting them. I don't even have an OSHA report, and we didn't get one for this meeting, I wasn't going to get one. I did send FOIA requests to both the towns.
Yeah, so I think we have a copy.
state.
Yeah.
But I just think as a board, we shouldn't have to go to that level, but if we do, then we do. But I would like the motions.
So go ahead and make the motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we wait to to move on any more discussion and potential action regarding the various funds until the Board of Finance receives a letter from the town attorney advising us on how we should move forward.
I'll second that.
I know.
You got it, okay. Okay, all in, we have a second, right? Okay, all in favor, raise your hand. Okay, motion carries.
But that wasn't exactly what else you said. You said we've been asking for a lot of things, and
But that's a different issue.
That's different,
Yeah,
so we'll
no.
stick with that, but yeah, the OSHA report for the lift would be nice to have, and documentation. So here is one thing I am gonna bring up that I brought.
Do we need a new agenda item?
Do we have other on our thing?
No.
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 Hang
It would
on.
just be under, is it something to do with regarding the various funds, or is it something totally separate?
It's along the lines of what I'm talking about with your requests. So our charter is very specific that when the Board of Finance requests or when we receive the estimates in our annual budgets on our capital or our operating, if there's documentation that we're requesting, we have a right to have that. But those estimates and things should already be presented with the budget. The charter is pretty specific on that. So the fact that we asked for things like estimates on the lift, OSHA reports that went with that lift, any fines that were paid on that lift, anything that's on the capital that we request to see as documentation, but it also outlines what is supposed to go with the budget to the Board of Finance so that we can make educated votes on these things, so that we have a proper written estimate if we need one from a company. So I want to make sure going forward that's addressed.
That's that capital non-recurring policy that I sent to you in the Board of Selectmen, where you would have that. The whole idea is you fund the capital, and then we'll address it more in
Even
our
despite having that though,
Yeah.
the Board of Finance should have been getting this according to
All
our
along.
charter all along. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, the idea is, did you guys see the copy of what I did for East Granby, so you get a general idea? The capital non-recurring becomes a project-based, because capital occurs more than over 1 year. You know, it's not an operational expense. So, for example, 300,000 was just approved in this past budget. It'll go to separate funding, you guys will track it, you guys will see interest, it'll have its income, and whatever other funds go towards its state or wherever. And then you'll see it on a project-by-project basis. Now, every single one of those projects would have to get approved at a town meeting. So, for example, if they wanted the lift, anything, if they want item A, they have to have all the quotes, you guys would have to approve it, Board of Selectmen approve it, Board of Finance approves it, and then it would go to a vote for the public. And then the public would vote on it, it would be set aside in a project, and you would see, this is the amount that was approved, and then current year, this is what we've expended, and then at the end of the year, what is left. If the project is still open, it'll move and say balance used at the beginning of the year. And then when a project is closed, we say the project is closed and we'd like the remaining funds to go back to the capital balance. And that's the typical thing, and that's how it comes off. But it's a step-by-step process where every single capital item would have quotes to go along with it that would have to be approved by Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, and the public. And that's the proper way to do a CNR. And that's where we're going. So, we'll get there.
Anything else on the various funds before we move on? Okay, so next would be our bylaw committee update.
So, by the way, it's kind of unfair. We're gonna have a CNR, or we're just gonna stay doing what we've been. So once we get that verified, we can, I think we're just gonna probably go ahead and reschedule and work past, and we'll just leave that chunk maybe blank, so we can at least.
Or at least put something tentative, what we think, like what I just discussed with the
Yeah.
policies until it gets the
Or just work from that point to the end, and then if we have to come back to that part, at least it'll only be that little chunk, so.
That's pretty much where we're at anyway, and the final cleanup. Because Jimmy's been doing it all along, and he said it's easier when it's done to go back to the beginning and make sure that it flows a lot better.
That's where we're at.
Well, we we had originally said that we have it to present at the June meeting.
Oh,
Because
right,
we-
yeah, I knew we
Because
were.
we weren't anticipating
Yeah.
running into the CNR. and
Well, we also said not to,
Yeah, we
we
don't
didn't want to
rush,
plan
no
for
rushing,
it.
yeah.
If it takes longer, it takes longer.
Yeah.
It's definitely.
I'd rather take longer and do it right
Yeah.
than push something
We
through
don't
that's
want to
not
have to
right.
go back to it in a year or so. Okay, so the only thing left on the agenda would be adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, adjourn? Motion carries.